In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated, everyone. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. Let's start with a quote. Christian faith is a way of living based on the firm and sure hope that meekness is the way of God, that righteousness and peace will finally prevail, and that God's future will be a time of mercy and not cruelty. So blessed are those who live this life now, even when such a life seems foolish, for they will, in the end, be vindicated by God. So blessed are those who live this life now, even when such a life seems foolish, for they will in the end be vindicated by God. Last week, we were in, as we still are, we're in Matthew's Gospel. We looked at Matthew's description of the call of the first four disciples, Peter, Andrew, James, and John, two sets of brothers who were fishermen. We saw last week that Jesus had never seen these four men before. They had never seen him. He comes out of nowhere and makes the simple and yet profound command, not request, not offer, but demand to the four of them, what? Remember? Follow me, follow me. Follow me. That's it. Just follow me. They dropped everything they had. They left behind their work, their family, their fathers. They left everything and followed him on the strength of one thing and one thing alone: his word. The power and the authority of his word, which came out from him, was palpable, rich, strong. Follow me. And they did. They dropped all and obeyed. But to what were they following him? What was their life going to be like? Well, today, in chapter 5 of Matthew, we get the beginning of that statement that Jesus will make. Chapters 5, 6, and 7 of the Gospel of Matthew are what's sometimes called the discipleship discourse or the discipleship teaching, where Jesus gives a 3-chapter long and probably one of the most famous passages in all of the New Testament statement of his teaching, in which he is saying, this is what it means to be mine. This, for 3 chapters, this is what it means to follow me. This is how hard it's going to be. We call this passage what? The Sermon on the Mount. The Sermon on the Mount. And it contains some of the hardest, most difficult things a human being can possibly be asked to do. Love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. You have heard it said, thou shalt not kill. I say to you, if you even look with anger on someone, if you even harbor anger against someone, you've killed them. If someone asks for your coat, give them everything and walk another mile. And if someone strikes you on the cheek, what do? Give them the other one. He's saying for 3 chapters, this is what mine are like. This is what it means to follow me. Now, most of us, if we read that sustained 3-chapter, we say, what? Don't sign me up. I don't want that. But this is what he says life is going to look like for his disciples, for those who follow him. And today we have one of the most famous passages within this famous passage. It's the introduction, and it's no accident that it begins the Sermon on the Mount, and they are called what? The Beatitudes, exactly, the Beatitudes. Blessed. So Jesus goes up the mountain, he sits down, the position of authority in the ancient world to teach. His disciples are arranged around him. How many disciples does he have at that point? 4, right? But when we hear disciple, that's Matthew's way of reading through them to who? Us. When we hear that, he's speaking to them. He's speaking to a crowd that's there. He's speaking to Matthew's community, and he's speaking all the way 2,000 years later to us here at Trinity today. He's speaking to us as well. And he begins, blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed. Now that could be translated, you could say happy, but that's too kind of sappy, emotional. It's too not good enough. You could say fortunate are those. But a beatitude is this. A beatitude, a blessing, this blessing form is this. Blessed are those who are this, for they will receive this. Blessed are those this, for they will receive this. Blessed are those who now are, and the present tense is important. Blessed are those who now are this, because in the future they will look like this. And what we see is something that we see over and over again in God's kingdom. That which we think is this, and that which we think is this, are like this. A reversal of values, a reversal of this world, a reversal of the way things in this world are ordered and structured and thought to be important. What we think is high and what we think is low are switched around. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Well, who wants to be poor in spirit? And how could they be blessed? What does that mean to be poor in spirit? It means a spiritual orientation of those who know their need of God. Those who know their need of God. How many of you know you need God? Yeah, there you go. It's poor. There you go. Poverty of spirit right there. You know you need God. Now, in our society today, we are encouraged to rely on who? Ourselves, right? See the reversal? Jesus says, blessed are those who know they need to rely on God. That's a weak, wimpy kind of thing. Our culture says those who know that they don't need anybody but themselves are in the high position. But Jesus says in the future what? These folks they're going to learn that what? The kingdom of heaven is theirs. Boom. Switch it around. Blessed are those who mourn. What does that mean? The sadness? People cry because they lost somebody? No, that's not what he's talking about here. When he says mourn, he's talking about a spiritual condition, a condition of the soul in which we are saddened by the condition of all of us before God. Those who mourn the condition of humanity. Sad because we don't follow God. But they will be comforted. Blessed are those who are meek. Meek. Who's meek these days? Who wants to be meek these days? What word do we always put with meek? Mouse, right? Meek as a mouse. Meek, that's low value. What does it mean to be meek? What's he saying, meek? Those whose attitude is not arrogant, arrogant. Those whose attitude is not arrogant. We got a lot of arrogance lately, don't we? A lot of arrogance. Held up as a value. Arrogance is a value. But Jesus says, in my community, meekness is the thing. Not arrogant. Not superior. Meekness. And they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. To hunger and thirst for righteousness. That is God's righteousness is so palpable for these folks and such an object of devotion. They thirst for it. They hunger for it. They will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Mercy. Be merciful. What does that mean? It means no seeking of revenge. No seeking of revenge. Merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart. The pure in heart. Pure in heart. What does that mean, purity of heart? It means to not, when the ancients talked about the heart as the seat of God, what they meant was that in us, they believed that the heart revealed the true condition of our soul. That was the true condition of our soul. And they believed that most of us were kind of divided on that. That like, most of us kind of wanted God, but we also wanted us. And we were kind of divided. Purity of heart means those two are one. That the inside package and the outside package are the same. Now, many of us live lives in which our inner self and our outer self are two completely different people who have never met. Never met. We all go out and portray this self that we say is us. And yet, if you have even a glimmer of self-awareness, you know that there is somewhat of a gap between who you are at home, alone, by yourself, and who you are when you come out and around others. Purity of heart means that those two things are getting closer and closer together. And when they come together in purity of heart, that person sees God. That person sees God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Need we even unpack that? That we are to be a people of peace. That which characterizes us as Christian men and women is that we make peace. And I don't mean just war. I mean strife, enmity, all kinds of ways in which we don't foster peace. But peacemaking in the Christian community is a hallmark of who we are. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil on his account, for your reward is great in heaven. What a teaching that is. What a teaching that is. What traits do we reward in our society? What traits do we reward? Self-reliance, success, strength, exercise of power, happiness, celebrity, money-making, attractiveness. What traits did you just hear the Beatitudes reward? Whole different set, isn't it? Whole different set. Whole different set. Postscript. Last night, Beth called me and told me that, she said, did you see what's happening out at the airport? I had no idea. I was in La La Land. No idea. So I turned on the interweb and found out what was going on. You all know, of course, right? Our president has signed an order refusing entry to refugees and to people from certain countries that are Muslim. You all have seen this, correct? With what I just said about the Beatitudes as our frame, let me just ask you a couple of questions. When we see that, keeping people out who are in need, when we see that, keeping people away because of their religion, when we see that, is there any hint? Is there any coloring? Is there even the faintest scent of the Beatitudes in that? No, there isn't, is there? Not a lick. I said a month ago, after the election, when I stood right up here and preached, I said one of the things, the four things we must do, is not stay by and watch injustice be done. We must not because of our political beliefs, but because we're Christians. We're Christians. No. We're Christians. And because of who we follow, and because of who we said yes to, we didn't say yes to a party. We said yes last week, as I said, to who? To a man. We said yes to a man. And that man, on the strength of his word, said, in my house, in my community, we will not be like this. We will not. We will not stand by. We will not sit idly by. We are Christians. We are shaped and formed by the Beatitudes and by the Sermon on the Mount. And even though it's hard, and even though it's difficult, and even though it seems impossible, we must try. We must try. Because on this side of the veil, we got plenty of time to get it wrong. But we got to try to get it right. Amen.